Last week in the NSCAA Men's College Game of the Week, a record crowd at home stadium in Bucknell saw their Bison beat visiting Lafayette with a second-half goal. This week, we went to the West Coast to watch a clash between the Santa Clara University and the University of San Francisco. The NSCAA Men's Review Show is coming up next.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the NSCAA Men's Soccer Review Show. I am Steve Bell, joined by Keith Tabatsnik. Great tradition in this matchup between Santa Clara and San Francisco. 57th all-time meeting, and the series started way back in 1967. Keith, a lot of tradition between these two teams.
Yeah, it is a lot of tradition. I mean, if they're going to circle one game in the year on the schedule at the beginning, this is the game that both teams circle. Neither team's had the year that they wanted to have, but you can certainly expect a lot of excitement and, a lot of focus in this game because they do want the bragging rights.
You combine these two teams, and they've accounted for 6 of the last WCC conference championships. Not going to be the case this year, though.
No, it's not. In fact, and you just said it, I mean, things are kind of turned around from what even the coaches expected at the beginning of the year, where everyone expected these two teams to be on top. Now right now in the West Coast Conference on top, it's not these teams actually. San Diego, St. Mary's on top right now, fighting for that #1 seed for the automatic berth because they don't have a tournament in the West Coast Conference.
And it's not just West Coast Conference. All across the country right now, teams are fighting for those conference championships. A lot of those trying to get into the NCAA tournament. Keith, what are you seeing with the matchups across the country and the conference battles?
Well, we're talking, let's start out west. We got the Pac-10 right now. UCLA this weekend, they have a chance to clinch first place in the Pac-10, right? Get the automatic bid for that, right? The Big West Conference, UC Santa Barbara, we've had them on TV twice. Both times they've won, and this week they just won first place, won another West Coast Conference championship, a Big West Conference championship, for Santa Barbara. So congrats to them. But we're looking around the rest of the country. I mean, it's a time where some tournaments have started. The Big East tournament, for example, they've already had their first round, and now they're into the Final 8 this weekend. Right, Connecticut and Louisville being the top seeds, winning their respective divisions.
There's a lot of teams out there, too, that need to win their conference championship to punch that ticket. You look like a team like Monmouth, who's had an outstanding year in the Northeast Conference, but there's other ones where if they don't win the conference, they need to get the at-large bid, and there's a lot of bubble teams out there fighting right now.
Yeah, there definitely are, and this is what, these next 2 weekends are so big in terms of that teams are trying to get on the bubble, teams who might be looking on the bubble are trying to get off it, and a lot of people are worried because, that RPI thing came out a couple weeks ago again. It has people all over the place. You look at Santa Barbara, for example, they were 48th in the RPI. You look at Indiana, who at the time the RPI came out, they were 500. They're now a game over 500. They just had a big win over Penn State today, actually, and so they're trying to be in the hunt. If they're over 500, I think they'll get in. They'll be out. It's hard to say a team that's 7th RPI is on the bubble, but they got to have a winning record or a 500 record. But there's quite a number of teams. You talked about the Monmouths, for example, and they have 16 wins now after winning today. Right, only Akron has more wins than them. In fact, we talk about power conferences sometimes, ACC, Big Ten, Big East, but the teams with the 3 most wins this year are not in those conferences. Akron with the most wins right now, Monmouth next, and then Bucknell, we had on TV last week. Those are the top 3 wins in the country right now.
Well, whether they are the bubble teams or the teams winning their conferences, you will find them in the NSCAA rankings. Let's take a look at the top 25, and it all starts with Akron. They are now 16-0 with the win over Michigan State in the 17-0. 45 goals for, only 4 against. Is there anything this team can't do?
But one of the things is they keep doing it when they're, the bullseye's so big on their back, and they're just coming up with big win after big win. Congrats to Caleb Porter.
You also look through the top 10 there. USC Santa Barbara, overtime win over UC Irving. Louisville in 5th place, but we just talked about them entering the top 10. Keith, Monmouth, #1 seed in the Northeast Conference.
Yeah, Monmouth with a win over Mount St. Mary's today. They're 16-101. Robbie McCourt's team just on a roll.
As we flip the chart and we look at the next 10, some players and teams that jump out there as well. A lot of familiar teams. How about Harvard and South Florida?
Yeah, well, Harvard right now, the top of the Ivy, they're the only Ivy League team in the top 25. However, the Ivy still could get 2 or even 3 teams into the NCAA tournament.
San Diego made a huge jump, winning at San Francisco by a score of 3-1 as we look through the final 5. And And there you'll find Dayton, who beat St. Louis and Charlotte as well, and some other teams that you're looking for.
Yeah, well, in fact, Missouri State has won first place in the Missouri Valley Conference. UNC Wilmington, they have the first place in the CAA Conference. Will be hosting that tournament as well. Penn State, they're trying to fight to get it back into the NCAA tournament to have a good run. They lost Indiana today, but they're still sitting on top of the Big Ten. And by the way, I just got to say, we also have to have a shout-out to Ralph Paulson, right, whose Wofford team has won the Southern Conference. Now, by the way, they were the last place for the last 6 years, and this year they win the title. If that was the SATs, you'd be looking for an investigation, but not with them. Ralph Paulson, congratulations.
Big jump for them, top 25 teams. And how about our NSCAA Player of the Week? Tim Ritter from Providence. He had a couple of big goals this week.
Yeah, he did. He had 2 overtime goals against West Virginia and against Georgetown. I saw the goal against Georgetown. An outstanding header in overtime. Tim Ritter, congratulations.
So the final in this one, Santa Clara off the first half goal by Eric Hurtado wins 1-0 over San Francisco. Steve Bell joined by Keith Tabatsnik. We talked before about this being a great rivalry between two teams. Started in 1967. This was the 57th meeting between the two teams. We knew it was going to be close, and it was.
Yeah, well, it was a close game, and both teams had their bits of momentum. San Francisco at the beginning, it looked like, hey, they're going to take this game to Santa Clara. Santa Clara fights back, and what did they fight back with? A couple substitutes that made a big difference. Eric Hurtado show really in the first half. He ends up getting the goal. That last San Francisco a couple chances in the second half, but really just couldn't get that momentum going.
We said before as well that a lot of close games. These two teams have combined to win the previous 6 WCC championships. Santa Clara on one end had lost a lot of close games, a lot of overtime games, 7 overtime games. They only won 1 of them. This was a close game that they won. Yeah,
and we're talking about the West Coast Conference really being tight from the top to the bottom, that on any given day in the West Coast Conference, really, to say somebody's the last place team or something like that is really, misleading because it is so tight there. Hey, all these games at halftime are probably even or 1 goal one way or the other, and it comes down to, just one little thing, one way here, one way the other. It's Hurtado getting on, basically what was just a bit of a sloppy clearance to score the 1 goal that held up.
Let's take a look at the highlights, which turned into be the Eric Hurtado highlight show.
Yeah, we see it. This is shortly after he came into the game, about 20 minutes into the first half, and then he beats one player. Leon Williams didn't get enough covering space there to stop him from the shot. And now this is the end of a free kick by Connor Mitchell, and it hadn't been cleared out. Hurtado gets on the end of it for the lone goal. That was at the 35th minute mark. But Hurtado, he was trying to get another one. That was his 5th of the year. He's trying to get his 6th there and almost beats Brian Roslin to the corner there. Just goes wide. In the second half, I'll tell you what, starts again. Austin Ten McClellan, an excellent cross in. Hurtado's just battling, and just puts it wide again. Narrowly missing getting another goal. And here's Connor Chin. This was off a free kick, sending it in. The save made. And then another time here, we're coming in, and he's trying to get another goal to go ahead 2-0. And that was Connor Chin there right at the end, also taking the save. And look at this. This is the goalkeeper that came in, late in the afternoon for the start. He gets his 3rd start of the year and gets the shutout to win.
And that will do it. Thanks for joining us in the NSCAA Men's Soccer Review Show. For more, you can always log on to www.nscaa.com. Thanks for joining us, and good night.